is from free. Start again with my words. Tonight's session is completely free of charge. It's hosted by Oxlep, Oxfordshire's local enterprise partnership. So please let us know where you're joining from. And we're going to start the session in maybe 1 more minute. We'll just wait for everybody to arrive. Let us know you're here in the chat. If you're feeling generous, you know, ring the bell, subscribe, like, all of those things. That'd be great. You will need notepad and pen tonight. So please do get your notepads and pens together. We're going to look at some examples of how people sell through email, good and bad. And also I'm going to walk you through some of the key principles you need to follow in terms of doing email and reaching prospects well through email. So we're going to do all of that in tonight's session. Overview, feel free to ask questions in the chat as we go. And we'll start in 1 more minute. Do let me know in the chat if you're on YouTube at the moment, watching us on YouTube. Please do let me know in the chat where you're from so we know you're here. And we will get started. Notepads and pens ready. And if you have any questions during the session, please feel free to ask questions in the chat and I'll answer them as we go. Okay, so just a couple of things. I'll do some housekeeping. We're going to do some first things first, which are the fundamental principles you need to understand and some of the resources that will help you understand how to do email in this way well. So number 1, let's go. There are 3 technical components to doing email well. The first one is compliance with GDPR, particularly for B2B. So in a B2B environment, oh, hi, Gareth from Non-Plastic Beach. Anybody else, please do say hello. Compliance is really important. The GDPR regulations govern how you manage people's data and what permissions you need to market to that data. Now, I'll show you the differences for that in a minute, but the ICO's website is full of really good resources that will help you understand what you can and can't do, and I'll show you some of those right now. And if you want any of these, they're on the ICO's website, but if you don't know where they are or can't find them, just message me on LinkedIn and I'll send you the links to the places in the ICO's website where you can get the guidance. So it's really important we do this right and we do this well. Hi, Maxi Nation. You will, just to be aware, you will make mistakes in this email process, and that's okay because things happen. So don't be upset or don't kick yourself if you make a few mistakes along the way. Like any new skill, like any new technology, like any new way of doing things, you will make a few hiccups along the while. Hi, Teresa. I've had an incident today. A young member of our team has made a bit of a hiccup, and these things happen. Yeah, email, all kinds of selling, these things happen, and so sometimes it goes a little bit wrong. Don't worry. Yeah, test, but we'll go through that. So compliance with GDPR is really important, and I'll show you some of those. Then we come to the deliverability of your emails. So the number 1 thing is that an email has to be optimized for deliverability. So if you send lots of emails, cold emails to people from your work email address or your business email address, it can damage the reputation of your email domain. So yes, you can get around it. Yes, there's lots of ways to do it. But ultimately, you want to do this. The best way to use email to sell is not by sending thousands and thousands. And I'll show you why in a minute. The real way to do this for selling as opposed to marketing is to actually really be very tight and targeted with what you're trying to do. So deliverability is all about, can I get an email to the person that I want to do? So that comes down to data quality. the sending reputation of your email address, the way your email is built for deliverability in terms of images, alternative text, and I'll walk you through all of these, the security of your domain name, all of those things, and the overall quality of the email itself. So these are all factors that play into the deliverability. Now, there's two good resources for this. The first resource is mail-tester.com. And before you ever send an email to somebody, whether you're using it, maybe you've got an email list already, you've got a sign-up list, you've got a customer list. Mail Tester is a great little service. This is an example of the website where you can send an email test to them free of charge, and they will tell you all of the areas where your email needs to improve to get the deliverability. It'll give you a list of all the areas where it's weak and what you need to do to improve. So Mail Tester. The downside to Mail Tester is that if you can only test 2 emails per day. So Mail Tester is a brilliant tool to test whether, is this going to go into their junk folder? Is this going to get opened? Can I maximize it to get it seen by the recipient? It's a brilliant little tool. The next resource, which is the ICO one, we will get to the mechanics of what to do with email in a moment. But hi, David Crompton from Dayfold. So the next thing is the direct marketing checklist from the ICO. And this really, when it comes to email, gives you the authoritative position on what you can do. So first of all, if you're trying to sell to a member of the public, so Gmails, just generally Gmails, Hotmails, not businesses, you have to have specific consent to send them marketing emails. So you have to get them to opt in to your email list. Now, maybe we'll cover some of opting in the email list in the Q&A at the end. If you're selling to a business, so a company or a corporate body, so a limited company, an LLP, a PLC, or a government organization, you don't need the consent. However, if you're sending the email, and it's not in here, if you're sending the email to a specific person, first name dot surname at that company, under GDPR, they have an absolute right to object to you processing it. In other words, you have to stop. Now, oddly enough, if you send an email to an info, and I'm not saying do this, I'm just explaining the difference, and hopefully I don't lose you in GDPR information and PECR information. So if you send info at maverick.co.uk, Maverick's a company. So if you send info at maverick.co.uk, it's not, you don't have to unsubscribe even if they ask in the law. It's absolutely good practice to do that though. Absolutely good practice. You should do that because you don't want to annoy people. You don't want to upset people. So number one, individuals, you have to have their express consent. But if you're emailing a company and the company's employees, you don't need the consent in advance. But if the employee says, please stop, you have to do that. Hopefully that makes sense. So the ICO has lots of guidance on this. And I don't want to overload the ICO's I don't want to overload the ICO's work, but sometimes if you're uncertain, there's a great email address you can write email and say, this is what I want to do. Can you just confirm to me what I should be doing? And they'll explain it to you. I've done this when GDPR came out, and other people I know have done it just to get the clarity. So we try and do everything right. But this is a glance, but you can actually ask them for advice. Go on the website, find their email address, but be very specific about what you want to ask them, and they'll explain it. So this is really important. So compliance, deliverability is all about using the Mail Tester to get this. The other thing about the deliverability is an excessive use of imagery in your emails, or an imbalance between the volume of text and imagery can actually affect your deliverability. It can mean it goes into spam or junk. So what you'll find is if you check your emails and you get email outreach from people trying to sell you things, you'll find that a lot of their emails have no imagery, and they normally have no links on there either. Now, I'll explain why when we get into the examples, but the reason they do this is to optimize the email for maximum deliverability. Now, in their scenario, they're not doing what I'm going to suggest to you tonight. They're doing a very high volume, very broad, vague outreach. So they're not targeting it. They're not being specific. So they're reaching lots of people with the same email. And so that damages the deliverability and is more likely to cause problems. So they strip out anything that could hinder the deliverability of the email, which makes them look pretty boring and pretty bland. So GDPR is specific to the UK and Europe. However, any company that is marketing or emailing people within those territories has to comply with it. So that's the rules. I don't know how they enforce that across boundaries where the law doesn't apply. I think they kick into the CAN spam and the Federal Trade Commission to try and enforce that, but I'm not sure. So that's the guide to the checklist. So now let's look at how do we make an impact? How do we make an impact with email? So basic principles here. Yeah, if you follow the basic principles, you will really do very, very well. And I'll maybe flesh these out as we go. So emails which are hyper personalized are the most successful. So the more personalized they are, the more successful they are. So some people go, well, actually, I want to go for volume. So when you go for volume, you can't personalize as well. So you send a lot more emails, but less personalization. So from a business case point of view, it's not very effective. But emails which have follow-ups are essential, because sometimes we get email box overload, and it's not that our email was no good. We just didn't get round to seeing it. We just filter. Remember, we filter. We don't read everything. You know, I struggle to read all my emails. We just read what we think is important. We triage our emails. Yeah. So think about it like this. Most of the people you're trying to reach out to, it's not about your email. They're triaging it. So is it important? No, leave it. And actually, most people these days, they don't actually respond to emails unless it becomes important. I've been overloaded with emails the last day, so I'm still catching up. So that just is a natural routine. So follow-ups are a good thing, but doing it in the right order and at the right time. Because people ignore emails, we just triage. We triage our inboxes. So the average conversion rate of a cold outreach, this is the mix of the mass market and the hyper-personalized, yeah, is 7% without personalization. But if you hyper-personalize, it can climb to about 23%. Now, what happens is a lot of people get addicted to volume versus, quantity versus quality, shall we say. So if you invest the time, you can send 10 emails and get 5 good replies. Whereas you could drop the personalization, because you can't personalize at speed, do 1,000 and maybe get 70. Now you think, ooh, 70 replies, 70. That's assuming you've done it as well as you possibly can. I would say some people would duck under that. So it's a very hit and miss the more broad you go. And some companies I know, and you'll have seen them, they're sending thousands of emails to people in the hopes that 1 or 2 or 10 or whatever it is pick up. So hyper personalization is the way to go, particularly if you're trying to reach senior decision makers, or you're trying to reach higher level businesses, or you're trying to introduce yourself to a company where you want to sell something that's a higher value. So it's difficult to hyper personalize and do it at scale. There's companies who say you can do it, but actually a lot of the hyper personalization is still quite similar. Yes, it can be done at scale, but it's difficult. It's very difficult, and it probably will take you as much time as to actually do it hyper personalized yourself. So it's better to spend time on 100 to 200 prospects and put the effort in. You'll get a better result. Remember, for every person that you outreach to, they will decide whether you're relevant or not. Yeah, you can keep going, and hopefully, and there is an element of frequency of emailing, but actually you want people to be wowed and reply. That's what you really want. So your primary goal is replies or clicks. Replies or clicks. So this is where I see people go wrong when they're using email. And I'll explain why. And we're going to look at some examples in a minute. Bulk send, just a reminder, bulk sending similar messages lowers the deliverability and the open rate. So if you think, wow, I'm going to send 10,000 now, this could change my business, be aware that it's not about numbers equals a result. Actually, the more numbers you do and the more similar the messages are, the lower the result. I don't know exactly how the technology works, but all these servers, Outlook servers and all these things can detect when you are sending lots of the messages that are the same. And so they learn very quickly what should be junk mail and what should be normal inbox mail, based on, have we seen this message as Outlook's server seen this before? Has Google's server seen this before? So you can get really excited about sending 10,000 emails, but actually, in reality, fractions of people actually get them. So it's better to be very careful and curated with them and get replies than actually go for chunks and chunks and chunks. So I'm going to show you some examples here of emails. So this is a classic high volume cold email. Now, I've obviously removed some of the personal information for this, but I wanted to walk you through why this doesn't work, because if you know what doesn't work, you'll understand a bit better what does. And then we'll look at some things that I think are really interesting. So remember, the goal of your email is not to sell for you. It's to get into a conversation where you can actually have, video call, phone call. All roads in sales lead to a conversation. And that's what this email is trying to do. This email is trying to get me into a conversation. So, hi, Dean, personalization. But so thumbs up that we've got a personalization. How would a full service IT company be useful to you? What? What? Custom software, cybersecurity, integrations and migrations, web and mobile apps, platform modernization, dedicated resources and teams. First of all, they're going, hey, Dean, do you need anything in the way, shape or form of IT? First of all, the goal is here, remember, you only get my attention and I only get your attention if there's something in it for you. Where is the thing in it for me? If you're trying to disrupt me from my work, if you're trying to get me to create space in in my diary for you, there has to be a compelling reason why. So as you can see here, they admit in their own email, we are terrible salespeople, but extremely talented engineers. I quite like that line. I think that's quite fun. So we quite simply offer a try before you buy option. All we ask is that you continue with us if you are happy with our work. Would further conversation be pointless at this time? I love that line, right? So it's so generic. The message is so wishy-washy. It's like, Dean, I've spotted X, Y, or no, I'm not going to go into it. It's generic. It's trying to sell before we've had a conversation. It's trying to, there's no motivation here to have that call. The only motivation here is they're going to give me something for free. Try before you buy. Now, let me give you a big steer in business if you don't already know this. It's one thing to give freebies out to get attention. It's another thing to give people a try before you buy or a free period before a premium service in a business-to-business context. Because if that's your leading offer, if the leading thing that you're doing is, hey, you can have a try before you buy, yeah, then you will appeal to people who maybe are a bit more transactional. So this email is vague. It's quite generic. It doesn't tell me the value of what they can offer. It doesn't show me how I can benefit from the value, and certainly doesn't convince me to have a conversation. So let's have a look at the next email, which is their follow-up from my non-reply. I just wanted to circle back on my email below. Ugh, that circle back thing, by the way, is the most annoying phrase in history. So circle back. No, is a mutual fit between our expertise in web and mobile and your goals around technology. Again, vague. Why is it vague? It has to be vague because they can't personalize well enough at scale. If you're the appropriate person for handling such initiatives, what initiative? Oh, web and mobile. Can you spare 15 minutes for me to share how we can provide value to your organization? No, you should have provided the value in the email to begin with. Show me how you can make a difference. I'll show you some different versions here. We all do this, by the way. Like we have done for 200 plus of our customers. If not, who do you recommend I talk to? Vague. Yeah, there's no incentive here for me to do anything because I don't see a value. They're not showing me the value. They're not showing me the value or of the effort to actually tell them anything. We're a company with 30 people. I don't manage the IT. Why have they come to me? First of all, that's because their broad data collection has made it vague. I don't know why I need them, and the personalization is still pretty limited. It's obvious that this has been sent to loads of people, or it is obvious to me. So you see this. You can see how I'm trying to tell you how wonderful we are, what we can do, but I'm not telling you in any specifics. I'm not showing you why you should give me 20 minutes of your time. I'm not showing any of that. I'm not convincing them of anything. So let's have a look at some different ones. Right now, you can tell with this one, somebody's put some time. I spotted your expansion on your Maverick LinkedIn profile, and I saw you are running lots of events. I don't use LinkedIn so much, but I am going to take a look at your upcoming LinkedIn training webcast. First of all, we have webcasts on LinkedIn, and we call them webcasts. So this is like, actually, this person's talking to me. I did spot that you also don't use any form of online booking system for your events on your website. Is that a plan for the future? Which do you think out of the emails you've seen so far is going to get me to reply? Which do you think will get me the best reply? The first two or this one? Just put it in the chat. Which one do you think? One of the first two or this one? Hopefully you're chatting. So tell me which one. Do you think this one will get more opens than the others? So lots of personalization, real hyper personalization. Yeah, very detailed research. So I know that this person's done the effort, right? Exactly. This one for sure. But there's one element in this email that the other one doesn't have, and it's reciprocity. Yeah. Human beings like to return favors. Even in these difficult times, even in these very fractional times, people will always try to reciprocate. And so I've taken some time, and so it's encouraging me to reply. They're being courteous, very courteous. So this is why this email works better, because it's engaging, it's interesting, it's relevant to me, and is that a plan for the future? Now, what happens? I'll go, hi, whoever, we have tried online booking. We just can't integrate it very well, or it just adds more logistics. And I can have a chat, a back and forth conversation. And my job is to keep the person engaged with me by using curiosity and appealing to the goals that the customer may have. So it's a researched email. It's researched, and reciprocity is there. So reciprocity is really important. Now, it may well take a few back and forths like this. It may take a few emails like this with no replies to actually get into conversation. Now, I'll give you an example of one person who did this to me very, very well, but they messed it up at the end. So they sent me, they interacted with me on LinkedIn. They'd been to one of my webcasts, engaged with me on the webcast. I connected with them on LinkedIn. They dropped me an email telling me how they enjoyed the webcast and it was really insightful, and introduced what they do, and told me about how they thought they could help me, and then kept engaging with me on LinkedIn, and then sent me another email. I didn't reply to the first one, I don't think. Oh, I did thank you very much kind of stuff. They then sent me another one, and it was a bit more value packed and relevant. And then it sent me another one and said, look, I'd love to talk to you about this if you've got 10, 15 minutes. They'd done a lot of interaction. So the reciprocity of what they'd done convinced me. I said, let's have a call. So I agreed to a call for them to show me their system and their offering to me. And I did see some value in it. It was of interest. I did check out some of their links in the email as well. But here's what happened. So they got me interested. And then when I went on the call, the person I'd been speaking to wasn't actually on the call. I was on a call with somebody else. And they didn't reference any of our conversations, none of our interactions, and just proceeded to pitch me. All that work they'd done to engage me as a buyer, and their offering, by the way, was not a £500 offering. It was a £4,000 sale. And they used that process, which worked, but they put the time in. But when they came to the actual meeting, the relationship wasn't there. It was disconnected. And I was like, you just tricked me. Yeah. So it's really important that the whole process is joined up and demonstrate value, and reciprocity is powerful. So hyper personalization and reciprocity works a treat. I've seen people do, and I've noticed dayfold prints in here, so this might be useful, is that some people have done almost mock-ups of things and put it on a PDF and said, look, I think we can do a really good job for you. I've actually created a PDF mock-up. Can I send it to you? Yeah, I want to look. Yeah. So we're encouraging reciprocity and reply all of the time, because that's what makes the whole thing work. You're doing email to sell, to get replies that lead to a conversation, that lead to a sale. And we forget it, and we blast people with information. And actually, sometimes the shorter, the sweeter, the better. So that's that one. Now let's look at this one. I've done my research. I spent a few hours looking at Maverick's website, looking at your social media. I have some ideas which will help you further your aims to help 1 million businesses grow. I have some ideas for you, and I wanted to ask, could I send over a video to explain more? Now, I haven't put the signs on this one, but hyper personalization, number one, my name, number two, Mavericks company name, but done spelt properly with the abbreviation to plural. This is smacked on our website. That's our mission, to help 1 million businesses grow. And then I have some ideas and wanted to ask you, could I send you a video to explain more? Now, why are they asking me can they send the video? Why don't I just send the video? Anybody got any ideas why they're asking me to send the video? Can they send the video? Anybody want to guess? No one want to guess? So the reason why they're asking me, can they send the video, is so that I reply and say yes. So why would I reply and say yes? Well, that's my goal. Why do I want the video? Why would I want the video? To actually know what it would make a difference. I want to know what he's going to say. Curiosity kills cats and hooks prospects. Yeah. Yes, exactly. Vaccination, more likely to watch. Curiosity, everybody repeat this in your own room. It doesn't matter if somebody's around you and you've got headphones in. Imagine you've got headphones in and somebody in the room. Curiosity kills cats and hooks prospects. So curiosity is very powerful. Curiosity is very powerful. So that's really, really important. Ask questions in the email and ask them, can you send more? Yeah, Brendan, they're getting you to say yes. So they're coming back, and then you're following up. You're creating this back and forth, which is what business and e-commerce is all about. And you can't personalize these at scale. You have to do the research. Now, you could actually put the video in there as well, or embed a link to the video, but actually it's more effective to get into the two-way. Now, if the person doesn't respond to this, you can follow up and say, hi, Dean, I guess you didn't see my email before. I just wanted to check, is it okay if I send you this video? I've got some ideas. I think they could help you with your goal to help 1 million businesses grow. Am I okay to just get this video link over to you? If the ideas are great, great. If they're not, not. But I'm creating the curiosity about what's the video? What's the video? Now, the thing they could have done a little bit more is they could have expanded on how. What is it? Yeah, that's the key thing. What is it? That's what they needed to improve on. Not more text as in paragraphs, but something just to contextualize it a little bit more. What could contextualize it a little bit more? Is it, could they put it into, is it IT services? Is it something that will help people find my website? Is it something that helps us get more people onto our training? What is it a little bit more? They could have fleshed it out a little bit more, but the idea is not to like vomit out all of your information. It's to give them a teaser. Some of you will be watching Line of Duty. This is my favorite line at the moment. At the end of every episode of Line of Duty, they give you a cliffhanger. They give you a cliffhanger to keep you hooked so you want to watch again. You should create a bit of curiosity. Go, I need to know what's going on here. I need to understand a little bit more. So these are some of the keys of if you're going to use email to sell. So I would, just coming back to what I said earlier, yeah, I would go, right, we've got 1 to 200 prospects. Yeah, vaccination, that would have been good. But this is all trial and testing, not trial and error, trial and testing. When you trial something, you put something out there, test it a little bit, see how it works, tweak it, test it, see how it works. I've got an email that I've written as a template that I use base for this. And every time I use it, I get something like 90% of the people clicking to download the resource that I'm sharing with them. 90% of people click that open, because it's hyper personalized. It speaks to their need or their goal. Make a note of this. Hyper personalization. It speaks to their need or their goal and provides them with some kind of value of how they can achieve that or resolve their need. That's what you're trying to do, because you're trying to get into conversation. It's a channel to create a conversation. So what I'd encourage you to do is, if you want to do email, this is the best way to do it. 100 to 200 prospects. Do the research. Find the email addresses. There's websites like hunter.io and other websites where you can find the email addresses of the prospects. Remember the compliance. Do the research. See, how could we help this business? Not, oh, we're just the same as everybody else. How could we help this business? What are the things that we do that could help them? And then the first thing you've got to do, you'll never be able to get everything across in email because everybody reads tonality different. I can send a message to you tonight and you'll think I'm being rude and I thought I was being friendly. That's how it works. Because humans aren't as good at reading text and gauging what people mean as hearing it from somebody's mouth and reading the body language. So this is something to bear in mind, that when you write, people interpret. So hopefully I can get this across. When you read an email, your brain imagines a person stood in front of you saying it. It does this all in real time. So this is a simple way of explaining it. When you read an email, your brain processes it and imagines it like the person's telling you it. And your brain then loads onto that email all of the things that it would have read from if that had been told to you in person. So things like your tonality, your formality, all of these things make a difference in when you send an email. We're in a time now where formality has relaxed a little bit. So we can be a bit more informal in the way we communicate. We can write our emails a little bit more like we speak, but not slang and all that kind of stuff. But we can write a little bit more like that. And so I would encourage you to do the research, particularly if you're selling a high value item. Do the research, find out how you can help them, look at what they're doing, see if there's a place where you can add some value, and then start to write the email. I've seen lots of people go, we want to sell something, so we'll write emails and send the emails. And what they do is they load up their agenda into the email, forgetting that actually what they're trying to do is get a reply. They're trying to get people to take an action and respond. And so if you do your work on 100 to 200 emails, there's no reason why 25% of them won't reply, because you've taken a lot of time. Yes, you will need to follow some of them up, because as somebody said earlier, we just scan read, we triage our inboxes. Now, as we go through this now, I just want to remind you of a couple of other things, and then we'll do some Q&A if people have got questions. So where do people go wrong? Selling via email isn't actually about selling. It's actually about creating a conversation. It's about showcasing to the other side who receives that email that you know something that they don't, or you can provide something they don't have that will help them achieve something. That's what gets people interested. So it's not about saying we can do this, 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 this. Do you need it? It's actually about showing we know who you are, we know what you're trying to do, and we think we can help in these ways. And can we have a conversation? It may take, and I think the stat now is about 8 emails. And that sounds a lot, but just remember, we don't remember what emails we got last week. Yeah. So just bear in mind, email's very saturated. So 8 emails is a lot. Obviously, if you send somebody 8 emails in a week, be prepared to get a very angry person, but it will take a little bit of time to interact with the person and build it up. But keep focused on giving the value. Some people Some people like to share value first. So you might go, hi Dean, I've been researching Maverick and wanted to show you about you could have online booking and how it could on your website and how it could improve the number of signups on your website. I've produced a little PDF here that will showcase how we can do it. Please take a look, and I'll follow up next week to see what you think. And that could be a personalized PDF, or it could be a standard PDF, and you can track whether I click it. So I'll come to subject lines in a minute. So where does the personalization help? Subject line. So subject lines are the most important, the most critical thing to help you sell more. If you don't get the people to open the email, it's wasted. And so the subject line should be the teaser so that people want more, line of duty. So if you personalize the subject line, it needs to look, it can't look robotic. So so you could put their first name in it, you could put their company name in it, but you're trying to showcase that there's something of interest in this email. So remember that when I'm writing a subject line for an email, there's something of interest in this email. And that's not because it's interesting to you, it's something that's got to be interesting to them. Create curiosity with the subject line. What's this? I need to know about this. So it could be as simple as, the more confusing one, or the one that keeps people guessing and opening, is something like proposal. Subject line, proposal. Now, the downside, that one works very well because proposal, enquiry. The problem is that sometimes these can look a bit misleading. So, but things like quick question and you could like subject line, hi Dean, they kind of work. But you're trying to get people guessing. So if I was doing this one that was telling me about tickets on the website, the subject line could be ticket on website, website tickets for event on website. Yeah. Online booking on website. Yeah. So you're trying to get people curious. Now, if you're doing newsletters are a bit different. You have to create some sizzle. So generally, if you're sending some kind of newsletter, a how-to or a why your is the best type of opening. I'll add one more thing while we're talking about how-tos and why yours. So if you look at this email here that we looked at before, a lot of this email is talking about themselves. What you're trying to do, again, more about us, more about the company that's selling. Try and rebalance your email so it talks more about them than you. So here's a clue. If you use we or I more than you, in the sense of talking about yourself, it's wrong. The balance should be at least 50% of the email should be talking about them and 50% about you. So I spotted your expansion. So it's talking about me, Maverick, himself, Maverick, and then Maverick. So it's heavily biased towards talking about them or me, not about the prospect themselves, because we're trying to develop a conversation. And human beings love engaging and talking about themselves. So I've done my research, Maverick's website, looking at your social media. So it's all about Maverick. I have some ideas about Maverick. I have some ideas. Can I send you something? So it's a balance between we, as in we can do this, we can do that, we're wonderful, and you. So subject line, yeah, personalization in the subject line can help, but really you're trying to keep in a selling email, you're trying to just tease and create curiosity so that they open it as close in context to what the email's about. You can't mislead people. Like, for an example, if you put overdue notice, it will get opened. But if then you're going to sell something, it's like very misleading. It's deceptive. But if I went tickets on website, that's what the email's about. It's about your website or my website, and it's about the tickets because that's what they wrote about. So that's what you're trying to do. Try and make the subject line more personal. Everybody's still awake. I know there's a bit of a delay on the live tonight, but if you're awake, just give me a wave or a thumbs up or something. So in the body of the email, the more personalization, but you can't automate personalization because it can trip you up. You have to kind of do the research. The more personalization you put into the body of the email, the better. Again, any imagery or assets you use as part of the emails, if they can be personalized, you will get more attention and more response from your prospects. So here's the priority, and then we'll do some Q&A. Deliverability. If you want the resources from tonight's session, the links and all that kind of stuff I shared, if you want the resources, please message me on LinkedIn, and we will share all these links with you and the PowerPoint and everything. Open rate is another success. So deliverability gets it into the inbox. Open rate gets it read. Click-through rate or reply rate is what you really want. That's the key things you've got to do here. And in these email templates I've shown you so far tonight, it shows the difference between blasting people with, look what we can do for you, shall we have a call, to I'm going to try and build a relationship with you. I'm going to show my worth. I'm going to earn your response by going the extra mile. That will always work. If you get the opens and you follow up, if you go the extra mile and you show people you're going the extra mile, it will work. So there is a theory, by the way, just one thing, called a drunk email. Now, this is very popular. It's an American style of email marketing, but it is very popular. And this is where the reason it's called a drunk email is because there was a graphic designer who was, excuse me, a graphic designer who was struggling for work, had a few too many drinks and was sat at his laptop or computer. And he was like, I'm fed up of not getting any business. So he emailed some people with this almost very hyper honest email and going, look, I really want to work with you. I know most businesses won't give me a chance. I'll ring them up. They'll ignore my phone calls. I'll send them emails, all professionally written, and they won't respond. So here it is. I know there are things I can do for you that will help increase your brand. It was something like this, but I just want you to listen to me. I want you to give me 10 minutes. We can time it if you want, and I'll show you, I'll prove to you how we can make a difference. Yeah. And that was the gist of it. There's lots of different versions of it. Some people actually sell the template, but let me think about it like this, or let you think about it like this. You don't need to buy a template. Yeah. Because even if you get the template, you're going to have to tailor it. You're going to have to change it. You're going to have to tweak it. So if you want to go down that kind of drunk email, and sometimes I do those. So if you sign up for our Maverick newsletters, you'll probably see me write some of them every now and then. They're stories, they're examples, they're me telling things. They're very responsive, but they're very humanizing. And so you can do it, but even if you bought a template for it, you'd still have to personalize it. You still have to figure it out. So it has to come from you. And you can say, look, you get loads of emails and you're probably thinking about binning this one. But I know if you gave me 10 minutes, you would see we could do this and it would help you do this. And that's the kind of drunk email. It's where you lose your inhibitions. When you get drunk, you lose your inhibitions. And so you say what you really think. And on the email, you do that within moderation of telling people what you think. And it gets attention because of a bit of ballsiness, as they'd say, but also a bit of honesty. It works really, really well. Now, some people it doesn't work well with at all. You won't be able to know who it works well with and who it doesn't. But it does work, the drunk email. So deliverability, optimizing the email to get in the inbox, open rates to get people to read it, and then click-through rate or reply rate is what really matters. And so remember this, when you look at your email and you read it back, you do the test and send it to yourself or whatever, or you send it to a colleague and you see how it looks and you do the mail tester, ask yourself this question: does this email convince them it's worth a reply? Yeah. Now, bear in mind, how many times they will be told they could be saving money? How many companies will say we can save you money? Yeah. That's not a compelling reason to reply. Unless you can save them. You know, I've checked your accounts. I know I can save you $1 million off your marketing budget. If you can do that, great. But then it takes research. So just think about those things. Do we have any questions? Do we have any questions tonight? No questions? Oh, there is a delay on the line. No? So I've gone through quite a lot there in a kind of overview session. If there's questions, I'll just talk for a little bit till they come through. Just as an aside, whilst we're waiting for questions, this session is hosted by Oxlep. I really appreciate it. Obviously, you can come find me on LinkedIn. But if you can go to Oxlep's LinkedIn company page, Oxlep's website, and have a look at all the resources they've got. It's all free. There's loads of free resources there to help you grow your business, all funded by government and EU and all that kind of stuff. Go have a look. And if you've got value from this session, please do let them know, because they're trying to do things to help businesses. And they're trying to do it to help businesses. And of course, they want to know feedback to go, should we improve anything? Is there anything to do it? So it's really important. Harry McGill, if a person's own email is on their website, doesn't that avoid GDPR? No, Harry, it doesn't. Yes, so I'll answer these questions. There's a few questions coming in now. So if a person's own email is on their website, doesn't that avoid GDPR? No. The law is that you cannot email any individual, private citizen's email, or a sole trader without their consent, full stop. There's no loophole around that. There's no get out of jail. There's none of that. You can't get around it. Businesses, limited companies, PLCs, government bodies, LLPs are different. You can do that. Thoughts on video in email. So Brendan, I do use things like Loom in the videos. I have done that. It's hyper personalized, which is good. And it does work. It's very effective. The challenge is once they've viewed it, you've got to get the follow-up. So I normally try and ask them and say, look, I spotted this. Can I send you a video? It's more likely to get them engaged and more likely to get a response. So there's no yes or no there. Test what works for your audience. Split test. Do 50 of it with a video, 50 with the first one. It's absolutely fine. Matt Turner, MailChimp templates versus standard email format. So first things first, Matt, if you send emails from MailChimp to people who haven't opted in, your account will eventually get shut down. So just bear in mind, MailChimp's very strict. You have to have opt-in to send. And when they realize you haven't, they shut you down. MailChimp, again, you can't, if you're doing 100 to 200, it's probably worth going the extra mile to do the research and actually do the emails manually. You'll get a much better response. MailChimp's pretty good, but when you use a template like a newsletter, it's obviously a graphic email, so it's not as easy to sell through that method as it would be selling through a normal formatted email. So we get trained to know what's promo and what's not. And when you write an email the other way, like I just showed you to, they will work more effectively in terms of getting into the inbox. What percentage would you see as being good for deliverability? So deliverability, if you're doing it hyper personalized and 200, and you're doing it without automation software, you'll get, as long as your email addresses are good, you'll get 100% deliverability. So every email will be delivered. It's only when you start to automate, when personalization levels have to fall, because you can't research enough companies to keep it filled, that you actually lose deliverability. Now, if you start to email dud emails, that could also affect deliverability. So you need to check that the quality of the emails you're using is correct. So hunter.io and software like that will test emails for you, and they'll help you find emails. What's the difference between selling versus marketing email? So a marketing email usually looks more like a newsletter. It looks like very graphic, and a lot of the time they're opt-in. Selling emails, not entirely, by the way, but some people say email marketing, and it covers a broad spectrum of things. Selling emails, which are what we're talking about tonight, sales emails to get people to give you inquiries, to book a meeting, usually look a little bit more like mine, whereas something that's a bit more promotional, like a conference or a live event, will look more newsletty and more visual, more branded. So that's the difference. Harry McGill, it's not about the publishing of the email, it's about who owns the domain name. So if it's a limited company, it doesn't matter whether it's public or private. If it's a sole trader or a private citizen, it doesn't matter whether it's public or private. You can't use it without consent. Yes, Maxination, if they give you your email at an event or something like that, it qualifies as soft opt-in. If there's been prior contact, prior interaction, where they've handed over their email, even if it's like for a sale or a quote and inquiry, that can count as a soft opt-in, which is allowed. So Harry, if you've had contact with these people before and they've asked for a quote, there's nothing wrong with following up maybe with some marketing emails on those, because they're soft opt-in, even if they're a private citizen or a sole trader. But you can't do it cold like they've never met you. Any other questions? So what I'd say, Dayfold Print, a MailChimp email is more like a marketing email, and the ones I've shown you are more like a sales email. So this is like a sales email is a person to a person, and you can automate them, but the effectiveness goes down. So your reply rate could fall from 25% or 23%, the average. It could fall down to below 7%. I think 7% is a bit optimistic if you're doing high volume. Okay, well, it's 8 o'clock. I promised we'd finish on time. Thank you so much for watching. Please do go find Oxlep, give some feedback. If there's things that we can improve, please come let me know. If there's questions after the session, please let me know. Find me on LinkedIn. But thank you for watching. Next week, we've got another session. So go check out the Oxlep website, Oxlep's LinkedIn company page, and you'll find the list of all the events there. Go book in for the ones that will help you. Again, they're all free of charge to help you grow your business. And please, wherever you're watching, do the like, subscribe, you know, thumbs up stuff. It helps with the algorithm. It helps more people see this video, which is, you know, it's free. Let's help some more businesses. So if you can do all of those, like, subscribe, share things, that would be awesome. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully I didn't put you to sleep, and hopefully I'll see you next week on our next